What started as a small venture during the lockdown with minimal amount of capital has become a well-funded, well-run startup. We are in conversation with founders of Broomees who have bootstrapped their startup in the best possible manner. Presenting Vaibhav Agrawal, the CEO, and Nidhi Jain, the CSO of Broomees. In today's episode, the co-founders will touch upon many critical points, including the need to establish the focus on profitability from day one and hiring the compatible talent for your team. So, let's listen to them and learn from their strategies.
I'm your host Chitrak Kumar, founder and CEO of the VC Stories, in conversation with Vaibhav Agrawal, founder and CEO of Broomees. Hi Vaibhav, how are you?
Hi Chitrak, I'm fine. How are you?
That's great. So those who didn't know you yet, as our audience want to know more about you. So can you let us know our journey, how you got there, where you are right now, and how Broomie found?
Sure. So, Niharika, Saurav and I founded Broomees last year in February 2021. And we'd been working on a small pilot project where we were employing domestic workers, mainly women, into households in New Delhi. There were a lot of issues, like customers wanted the workers to be super trained and hygienic and professional. They wanted all the documentations and certifications in place. So that's when we realized that a regular maid agency model that's been going on in India for hundreds of years is not successful. There is a lot of mismatch in expectations from both sides. Workers want a fair wage, fair working hours. So nobody is working on that. So we saw this as a big opportunity, and luckily we were right about it. So that is how we started. And since then it's been great. We were bootstrapped for a really long while. So we were running on our own revenues. Then we got in touch with a few VCs, few angel investors. And then we quickly raised a round with 100x VC. So 100x VC really helped us grow and understand the market better. And then after that, we raised a seed round in just 2 months from that. So January of this year, 2022, is when we raised our seed round.
Yeah, that's great. So there are a lot of misconception in the ecosystem. Like if you are not able to raise your funds, then you are not going to run your startup successfully. And I've heard about a lot of people like, yeah, I'm trying to raise fund, but I am not able to raise fund. I said, why don't you bootstrap? But they who wants to put their hard-earned money into a startup, then why do a startup if you don't want to take risk? So what are your advice and how you grow your company by only bootstrap?
Correct. Niharika, would you want to answer this?
Sure. So I think you're correct in the thought process of asking those founders why not bootstrapping yourself. And contrary to the popular belief, we actually put in only like about 50,000 in total. So that wasn't like a lot of capital, and it did really help us sustain for a year, because we had enough revenues to take care of all our expenses. So I think it's important to run a business and start a business with the thought of sustaining it and generating revenue. That is one thing which is sort of missing these days in a lot of startups. So that is my one advice, that think of it is at the end of the day still a business. Yes, it's a startup, but you're supposed to make profits, you're supposed to generate revenue. Only then will you be able to convince an investor also eventually that your idea is worth investing.
Correct. I have just one thing to add to that. If you do not want to invest in your own startup, then how do you expect an investor to invest in your startup? So if you think being bootstrapped is a bad idea, you don't want to put in your money because you think it's going to fail, then you might as well just shut down the business, because nobody else is going to invest in you with that kind of confidence. So I think being bootstrapped is a very, very important thing. You should have full confidence, full faith in your idea. You have to let go of whatever part-time job you have, whatever full-time commitments you have. Then only will you be able to make it successful enough for others to believe in it.
Yeah, correct. If you don't want to sacrifice, then go for 9 to 5 job. this world
Right.
is not for you because it's very brutal world, right?
Right.
Yeah, so many new time founders and many founder also face that issue, like when to start raising funds. And this happen mostly in the bootstrap startup, like you have startup, you have funds with you, and you have revenue stream which is keeping getting your cash inflow in your startup. So how do you decided that yeah, it is the right time to start raising funds?
Okay. So even we are first-time founders, so I think our advice could be very helpful for other first-time founders. Try to be bootstrapped and get revenue till at least your first 100 or 200 customers, especially if it's a service. If it's a product, and if it's an expensive product, then maybe 25 to 50 customers. But once you have that number, then only you're ready to scale, for which you need funds. If you do not want to scale, if you want to run a small lifestyle business out of one location, then you do not actually need funds, right? So that
Right.
is the time that you need funding. So first, at least reach your 25 to 50 or 100 to 200 customers target. You will know a lot of things by then, that this is what my customer wants and this is what I have to give them, and hence I need funds. So that is the time when you should start reaching out to investors.
At that time when you think that yeah, now it's time to raise fund, you at least put some 6 months or 10 months of runway na? Because you know funding process is long. So
Correct.
what how many months of runway do you suggest to the new founders, like at least you should have 6 months or 9 months? And if you can tell me the ballpark figure of an amount as per
Correct.
your
So
experience.
correct. No, so you're right about it. 6 to 12 months is a decent runway to have, because when you start reaching out to investors, not everyone is going to show interest. Then you have to not give up in that period. It might take 6 months, it might take 9 months. Once someone is interested in you, they will get more people on board, or seeing that person showing interest, another person might come in on their own. So that is when things start picking up speed. But you need to have a lot of patience for the first 6 to 12 months for sure, and you need to have a runway for it.
Yeah, correct. So many founders also face the issue related to the pitch deck, correct? Because don't know like how to make a lucrative pitch deck so that the investor, you get lure investors so easily. So how do you tackle this problem? Do you take the help of any agency, or do you did it by yourself, or anyone?
Interesting question. Niharika, again, do you want to
Sure. So I
So,
think
be the best.
definitely. Yeah, you saying something?
I was saying Niharika is the one who made the pitch deck, so she'd be the best person to answer this.
Not
That's
really.
great.
But definitely one thing that I'd like to say is do not hire someone else to make your pitch deck. You know your company the best, and only you can present it the best. And if someone else makes it, then definitely you can't present their deck. So that's one thing. Second is, I think you should be very clear as to what kind of story you want to tell the investor. More than the numbers, the story matters, the vision matters. So I'd say like have at least 3-4 drafts of how you want your story to flow. And once you have your story in place, the flow in place, it becomes easier to put in numbers. Don't put numbers just for the heck of it. Put numbers where they're needed. So that's my one advice, and it takes time. It's okay. We've had I don't know how many versions, at least 100 versions of different pitch decks, and that's fine. Everybody takes that much time. So just give yourself the time. See other decks also, that helps, and then form your own.
Yeah. Again, I have one thing. So people might be wasting time on formatting the deck. So as far as
Correct.
that goes, you can simply download a template from the internet, or just have a plain white deck. The formatting, the design really doesn't matter. I've seen startup pitch decks of really big businesses, which were looking like they were made in MS Paint. So that is when we also realized that we should stop wasting time on formatting, designing, and all of that, and just focus on the content. The content should really appeal to the investor. As Niharika said, numbers is one thing, but it's not the most important thing. What is important is the story. So firstly, why you're doing whatever you're doing, and who is going to benefit out of it. And thirdly, what is your business and revenue model? These three things are very important in the deck. Rest everything just helps you with the whole process. But having clarity on these 3 or 4 things is very important.
Yeah, I myself been into the angel investment industry since last 2 years. So I also seen a lot of decks in which they are only focusing on the graphical parts. And
Correct.
if the information they are providing, they are only, comparing their best features to the top startup only particular feature. So I have
Correct.
given suggestion to many of time, just give you a clear picture. If you are not good in this, just at least give that. So that your investors should know, like in which area you are lagging and in which areas you are need improvement, so that they can help you with their community.
Correct.
So this is the lot of mistakes I have seen in many of the pitch decks.
Mm.
So apart from now, this is the funding thing. So let's get into the business side. So it's very difficult to hire your first set of customers. Okay. And every other business have different kind of thing. If I talk about social media, so you have to build your community first. If I talk about the D2C market, then you have to do a survey first. So the business of like you, so how do you approach your first set of customers, and what kind of marketing strategies you have planned at that time?
Again, from my experience, I would say you should try everything. So from offline to online marketing, from entering into WhatsApp groups to making cold calls to word of mouth, pamphlet distribution, digital marketing, running ads on Instagram, everything that fits your budget. Getting a customer from either of these sources won't be tough if you're doing it right. The same pamphlet that you give someone in their hands could have the exact same effect when they see it online on Instagram if the content is right. So to answer your question, to get the first set of customers, you should know what you're pitching. Suppose in our industry, we are pitching that we'll give you a trained domestic help. So the word trained matters a lot, because every other small agency will be distributing pamphlets and running ads about giving a maid. So our focus is on trained, whether it's an online ad campaign, whether it's an offline thing, whether we're making cold calls, which we don't, or whether we're sending emails. So just have a very clear focus on what you want the customer to see.
Yeah, I'd like to add another thing.
Okay, so
I think at least in the initial few months, you shouldn't focus on spending too much on marketing. If your initial probably 10-20 customers also you're getting out of paid marketing, then maybe just think through if you're reaching to the right customer, or if the product that you have or the service that you have is solving any kind of problem. So we for the longest time actually did not do any kind of paid marketing. Word of mouth spread. We reached out to our fellow people we knew, right, and people we thought would need the service, and they needed the service. So when you're thinking of a business, you would think of who would want this, right? You would speak to those kind of people. And once you've created that service, why not supply your service to those people, have feedback, and then probably get into running ads offline or online.
Yeah, very true.
Mm.
So moving on, like what are the KPIs at that time when you started measuring your startup process? So what are the KPIs you have set it for yourself, or any suggestion you can give? Yeah, like this should be at least the bare minimum KPIs you can start think of, if whether irrespective of any other industries.
Okay, so for the longest time we didn't actually chase any KPIs. We didn't set any KPIs. What we did was, and what worked out for us was, we used to have a clear target in our head as to how many successful deals we want to close. So when we started, it was like just 5 customers in a month. We will get 5 very good domestic workers, 5 very good customers, and we'll match them. So this was, and for the next maybe quarter, that number became 30. So that is how it always was. No KPIs were tracked until very recently. Niharika, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree with you completely on that.
So, but any suggestion if you want to give? Yeah, that it is good to have your KPIs on the initial years, or if it depends on person to person, on startup to startup.
I would say one KPI that should be tracked, whether it's an early stage or a later stage, is the success rate, or the reverse of it, that's the churn. So if you can track how many people actually wanted to take your service but didn't end up doing that, Or if you can track the reverse of that how many people reached out to you and you were able to give your service to them. So this is the only thing that would matter even to an investor. What would matter less is how much you were able to earn out of it and to what level you were able to scale it. Because having 50 happy customers is way better than having 500 happy customers and 5,000 unhappy customers. So that success rate and very low churn number is very important.
Yeah. So, and how do you manage in the COVID times, as you have started in 2021? So how COVID have impacted to you, and how do you sail through all the difficult times?
So my honest advice about that is a lot of people believe in virtual offices and working virtually and doing stuff from home and not calling their team to the office or any physical location while just an office. Niharika and I personally don't believe in that concept even now. So whether the team was of 4 people or 40, we always had good enough face time with each other. So COVID didn't really affect us that much because even when there were lockdowns, there were times when the entire city was shut for, I think, almost 1.5 months. We were forced to do work from home. But since we had already spent a couple of months together, we knew what is to be done, who to be contacted when and all of that. But if you think that COVID is an excuse to sit at your home and start a business and let everyone sit at their homes and do everything virtually and never meet, it most probably won't work out unless you're doing something in, crypto or fintech or something like that. Sitting to brainstorm is important.
Hello.
Yeah, I think you guys lost me.
No,
No,
I can
it's
hear you
okay.
well. Yeah.
So I was just saying that sitting together, and coming up with ideas and solutions is very important.
Yeah, I also think about the same. Like brainstorming is the best part to tackle any kind of problem.
Correct.
Yeah. So what if you remember, like if any kind of mistakes we have done when you have started up, and what are your suggestion to the new founders? Like, yeah, they shouldn't have done this, or they at least should have done this.
So one mistake that we often make even now is we are sort of very fast in our hiring. We don't give ourselves enough time to really think about who we are hiring. So that way, it sometimes doesn't work out, and sometimes it works out brilliantly. So my suggestion would be to give yourself and the candidate enough time to know each other and then get into a professional relationship. If you hire someone based on their skills or past experience, and then 1 month down the line you realize that this was not the right fit for my company, then it's a total waste of their time as well as your resources. So yeah, this is one suggestion, and this is an honest mistake that we keep making even now. Niharika?
No, yeah, I completely agree with that. It's very important to hire the right people. One wrong person can sort of affect your entire team's unity, right? So be careful, not just with your team members, but also with your founders. I see a lot of founders starting up without thinking through who their co-founder would be. I would highly suggest against that. I mean, take your time, figure out what kind of skills you have, what kind of skills the other person has, and then only start.
Yeah, this particular thing I also wanted to know, because I have seen a lot of founders who have, their co-founder is not working, and eventually they have to, divorce with their founders.
Correct.
So it's very hard to, find a very, not that particular, but a sophisticated or, cohesive, the founder which you have high cohesiveness. So
Correct.
I agree with this. It's very important. So apart from this, how it's like to be a founder? What is the typical life of a founder? Because it's very amusing for the students or for the person who is only doing job. They thought like, yeah, founder, you are a startup founder, you are a CEO. But I just wanted to have a clear picture and showcase to them those kind of peoples. Like, yeah, what is the real life of a founder?
So, Niharika, do you want to go first? Because we'd have very different answers about this.
I mean, okay, so I don't really know how to articulate this one, but uh, it's not fancy. Like, it's okay. It's a lot of responsibility. More than you calling yourself a founder. Yeah, I mean, you feel cool about it, but the larger part to that is a lot of responsibility and accountability. It is daunting at a lot of, on a lot of days. It is uncertain on a lot of days, and it requires you to work very hard. We don't have like 95 jobs. We have like, I don't know, 15, 16 hours of work every day. We wake up thinking about Broomies. We sleep at night thinking about Broomies. That is what our day is. So more than the coolness factor, there is, a lot of hard work and responsibility is what I'd say.
Correct. So
Correct.
I would put similarly. So being a founder is like being a parent, I would say. It's a lot of responsibility. You have to put your entire team before yourself, and you have to cover up for them. They might not want to work as much as you, so you will have to do that
Very
for
true.
them. Being a founder is not fancy at all times. You could be in very important meetings and talking to really important people, and after that meeting, you could be stepping out of your office to distribute pamphlets yourself. So, it's a lot of responsibility, and I'd think the only thing tougher than that is being a parent. So it's very close.
Yeah, it's like you have to wear multiple caps now. You are the HR, you are the founder, and sometimes you are the sweeper as well. Because most of the people, when I talk to them, like they want to start a startup, so they were like, yeah, a founder is a very fancy word. I also wanted to be a founder. And when I said like, okay, what is your idea and how will you go about it, they said, yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I have some plan, but yeah, we'll figure it out. Then there's no use to start a startup. You just keep on figuring out by whole life by yourself.
You should be ready to give up everything. Your family won't get enough time from you. Your friends won't get enough time for you. So you should be prepared.
Yeah, that's how you write a success story. Na? If you're not willing to give up, then you cannot able to write your success story.
Right.
So if I talk about names, I just wanted to ask this question by myself. So how do you come up with the name Broomees?
So Broom, because our focus area used to be cleaning services. In Hindi, it's Jhadu, Pocha, Bartan and all of that. And ease, because we're trying to make things easier. So that is why Broom plus ease, we made it Broomies. It's the other thing is that we are trying to sweep away your headache of hiring and your headache of maintaining your home. So that is why the word broom is sort of important to us. So even though now our focus areas are baby care and cooking, we are not planning to change the name anytime soon. So.
That's great. So how do you connect with helpers and what are the challenges you have faced?
So we connect with the helpers through various sources. We have them registering themselves on our app. We have a workers app on Play Store. And more than that, our field team goes into slums and remote areas in Delhi. They talk to these people. They give them the information in the form of a pamphlet, a card, a video, whatever works for them. And these people then register themselves either online or they come to our physical centers and register themselves. Once that is done, they get trained, they get verified. If their documents are missing, we get them made for them. And then we get them a job. Now, the difficulty is a lot of people want the job straight away. They don't want to be trained. So to tell someone to take a 3 or 4 days training where you won't be paid, but then you would be given a higher paying job, that communication is still sort of tough. Another thing is a lot of people have been scammed so much in the past that people have been charging them money, saying that they will get a job and then they run away with their money, right? So building that trust is always important when you enter a new area. So these are two major challenges that we face even now.
Yeah, absolutely true. Because if working in this kind of industry, you have to build a trust. And it is very hard to build a trust because there are a lot of this kind of events happen in those kind of person's life. Yeah, like someone had provided and someone had promised to give them a job, and they come from Bihar or from other states to Delhi, and then lose their ties with that person, that no, we don't provide, or we just give the money. It's very hard to build a trust in this kind of industry. Yeah. So what is the social motive behind your startup?
So social motive is very clear that these people are often, as you rightly pointed out, they are brought to Delhi from remote places of East and Northeast India, and they are left in Delhi, and then they're told that they have to do this job for which they are not even trained. They are not probably mentally prepared to do that job, and they're told a wage that is probably less than half of what they deserve. So the social motive here is to get them the right job with the right working hours and right wages, and also have a clear understanding that they are signing up for this job because they want to earn and save up, and then maybe go back to their village, or maybe go back to their families. We really want to keep that communication very clear that this work is not dirty work. We are not asking any of our workers to clean toilets or do that kind of work. We are making it very, very professional. So we give them kits like apron, hair ties, hair nets, and all, so that when they cook, they feel like a chef. They do not feel like a khana banane wali, the term that goes on. And similarly for BB Care, they should have enough equipment and training and professional training, I'd say, so that they feel like a nanny and not a, say, daiba or something, whatever they've been often.
Correct. At least they should have feel like, yeah, they are doing some professional work and not that cheap work, because it's very important to build an image.
Correct.
So how you are able to provide those affordable babysitters and home helpers?
So I wouldn't say our services are very affordable. We are pricing it right. So suppose an 8-hour job requires someone to get at least 14 or 15,000. So that is what we fight for. That is the kind of that we deliver to our workers. And those are the kind of customers that we look for, who understand that underpaying is not the right thing to do, especially for people who do not have any other source of income or backup, right? So it's not like an intern where you can, maybe not pay them or sorry, am I there? Yeah. So it's not like keeping an intern company where that intern has a family who's taking care of their expenses. So maybe that is why you're underpaying them, because they're in the process of training. But when you're keeping a grown woman who has to supply for her family, then you cannot have that mindset. So yeah, I think we do not try to make our service affordable. We keep it fair.
Yeah, you are helping, perceiving value. You are just focusing on value.
Correct.
Yeah, get it. Yeah, that's great. So going on in the last minute, so I'm going to wrap up within few minutes. So any advice you want to give to the new founders related to if they are raising their first round of funding, starting their startup from the day one of the registration, or any other kind of things?
For funding, actually, I don't think I'm the right person to give advice, but for starting, maybe I am. So you should completely believe in what you're building. Just an example, if I don't believe in crypto, I'm not the right person to make a startup out of it, right? I believe in the social, I believe in domestic help and their rights. So I'm building this. Someone could feel, I mean, they could be the right person to build the next Zomato or the next Uber. So firstly, decide what you really believe in, and then see, is that a problem worth solving? So if I really believe in something, but it's not even a problem worth solving because it's not a problem in other people's head, again, I need to rethink what I'm doing. So these are the two questions you should always ask yourself. Do you believe in the idea enough to invest in it yourself? Which was your first question. Ki bootstrap karna hai, investor nahi dega. Are you willing to invest? And the second thing is, do you think you would want this service? So.
Correct. And Niharika, from your side, any advice?
No, I think the only advice I have is that keep at it. It will take time. It will take a lot of permutations and combinations. So be flexible and keep at it. That's all.
Yes, yeah. As per me as well, like you are providing babysitters. So according to me, your startup is just newly born baby. The time you are investing in your real baby, the same you have to do with your startup as well. It's not like you just go grown up in the 2 days or in the 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah.
So right? Being a founder
Yeah.
is like,
Yeah, that's what you have said it earlier. Yeah, okay, then we're going to end it here. Thanks a lot for your time, Niharika and Vaibhav. It's really a great and insightful session with you guys. Thanks a lot for here.
Thank you.
really nice talking
Thank
to
you.
you.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Okay, bye.
Bye.